Do I have baseball history? Yeah.
We are back. We are back.
We are back.
We are back with another episode, the 10th episode of the On the Bump podcast.
Our 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary of the podcast. It feels like we've done more than 10, but it is the 10th podcast here. And excited about this one because we are at a point now where we're starting to get some topics and we could start doing what we want to do and do kind of like a rundown of sorts of the hottest topics right now, and it could be more open conversation because we did that last week and I think it worked. As always, if you're listening, so when we record, these will pop up live. We're not going to put, some weeks we might put something behind it and say we're going live right now, come join us. Other weeks it may just come up as a video after it's done, but you will be able to get the video podcast before the audio podcast. So video will come out as soon as it's done, whether it's Sunday or Monday. And then the audio would come out Wednesday. So a couple days early if you're on video. So with that being said, we're going to go right into the hottest topic. Maybe not the hottest, but I read today, something I read, that John Heyman tweeted out that Yu Darvish is available in trade talks. And
it's news to me.
That came out this morning. I just read it as I was, getting ready for the show. And we'll talk about Darvish in a second, but it did bring up a bigger point to me, how I really think the lack of – we've talked about it a bunch of different teams, but the lack of money last year is really hurting teams. You look at the guys who we've already heard who are on the block. Nolan Arenado. We heard today about Sonny Gray and Eugenio Suarez. Yu Darvish, Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa, Josh Hader, and Chris Bryant. Those are some big names.
Quite a list.
And most of them carry either A, big contract currently, or B, a big contract's coming within the next year. So that is quite the list of guys who it doesn't shock me that it wouldn't shock me if they could get dealt because of the money situation. So my first question to you, of those lists I just said, is who would you expect to be traded out of that list the most?
Sonny Gray, 100%. Mm-hmm. I think there have been rumblings about the Reds wanting to all of a sudden become sellers again, even though they pretty much only went for it for a 60-game season in 1 year. And they decided, okay, that's it. We tried. And I guess they were trying to take advantage of the reduced schedule, smaller sample size, easier to get into the playoffs with the expanded playoffs. And they were going for it. Fine. And that probably leads to them not re-signing Trevor Bauer. That's a different story. So I would say Sonny Gray is the most likely out of that group. I can't say with certainty where he gets dealt. The name that surprises me the most on that list is the first name you said, Yu Darvish. I mean, the Cubs are in an interesting position. There isn't really any clear-cut going for it kind of team in the NL Central where you can say that team's putting all their chips on the table. They're ready to win a World Series this year. It seems like everyone's kind of in that financial budget management zone. And I don't know, Cubs have some big contracts on the books. Maybe they'd rather keep Kyle Schwarber around if they can instead of a Yu Darvish. But I don't know. Yu Darvish also was like a top 5 pitcher in baseball. We've ran through his stats in previous episodes. He was a Cy Young finalist. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. One of the few kind of Japanese pitchers that has fully panned out to his potential after coming over here. Daisuke was okay. Tanaka has been great, but he hasn't. People were kind of expecting Tanaka to be like this all-world, like top 3 to 5 pitcher in baseball, which he's not. But Yu Darvish is that guy, and for a team like the Cubs to not really to go into financial management mode when it seems like every other team in that division is in that boat right now is a little interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, first I'm going to touch on the Reds thing. I think I agree that Sonny Gray is probably. I mean, actually, yeah, I think he will get dealt because I feel like they're at a point now where they're realizing. I think there was a report the other day that it's expected that there's no way Trevor Bauer can return to Cincinnati. I always thought if the market wasn't there for them, they could maybe put together a 1-year deal for him. He could establish that again. They can run it back. And then they'd keep Sonny Gray in that situation because you're doing it for 1 year. I love his agent, Trevor Bauer, Rachel Luba. She's up and coming. She's awesome. Friend of the podcast.
Those are two big Twitter heads.
Yes.
Luba and Trevor Bauer.
Yes. But she came out and basically said that, or Trevor came out. One of the two of them said that that report was false by Heyman. I think that's them just trying to keep as many suitors as possible. They've said that a few times now. I think the Reds are shot from that race, and I think that would end anything with Sonny Gray and Eugenio Suarez. I mean, Suarez we'll talk about in a second, but the one that I think actually, and I'll get to Yu Darvish, of course, in a second, but the one that I really think actually gets traded here, it's surprising, but I think it's Nolan Arenado.
I've heard the Mets.
Yeah, I've heard the
Mets.
Have. I've heard, and we will get to that, but I've heard that the Rockies kind of are reaching out to teams to try to sell. Sell might be the right word on Nolan Arenado because we've heard Nolan Arenado trade talks. I think this is the third offseason. At least the second offseason we've heard of it. Could be the third.
I've heard the Rockies want to do a full teardown.
Yeah,
which I guess because the Padres and the Dodgers are in their division. Now, there has to be a time where you say, okay, even if we put all our chips on the table, can we get ahead of the Dodgers at their peak right now? Can we get ahead of the Padres who are ascending towards that peak? They might have to wait 5 years.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Rockies roster too, outside of Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story, that roster's pretty bad.
Pretty bare. Well, Charlie Blackmon,
but he's aging. You have Arenado who's getting paid a ton of money not to make the playoffs. I'm not blaming Nolan Arenado. I'm just saying that factor. You're paying that much for someone who you're not getting in the playoffs with. And then you have a Trevor Story who's going to need a new contract next offseason. So this is your time if you're going to tear it down. You sell both of them. Trevor Story, you can wait till the All-Star break, sell him. Hopefully he's going to want a contract, so he's going to go off, especially in Coors Field. Sell him for what you can get him for. And I think this is their time.
He'll be a nice rental for a playoff team.
And yes, and I've heard a couple teams. I mean, obviously the Mets are a good fit for Arenado, depending on what they would do outside of Springer. I still think we'll talk about Springer in a second, but I still think Springer is the guy. But Arenado also, to me, would fit with the St. Louis Cardinals, who I think would be a perfect third base fit for them, and they have a good system to trade for it. And same thing with the Braves. The Braves are a team that can use that third baseman. They've been wanting third baseman for a while. Nolan Arenado. They've wanted Chris Bryant, and they have pieces to trade also. So there's teams that want them, and the teams that can afford them, and I could see it happening.
They will never do it, and they don't have the payroll. But the fit is the Tampa Bay Rays in my mind.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he would be a seamless fit.
He would be the Evan Longoria 2.0. I mean, much more power, but...
Yeah, except better.
Yeah, except better. And I also think there's a fit, depending on what a team like the Red Sox start to do with Rafael Devers, who played a little more first base last year. And I think as good as he makes plays at third, he's not consistent enough. And his bat is going to be the biggest part of Rafael Devers. So I think Arenado, and maybe Devers could even be included. Who knows? I don't know. But
yeah.
I would, you made a fake. I would doubt it because I feel like Red Sox love him. But I think Arenado fits on a team like that we know is going to have money coming back and still has the system to get a guy like that. So a lot going on with that. But jumping quick back to your point about Yu Darvish and the Cubs. I think they're realizing they're at a point right now where they're going to have to make a decision about their window. And you have a guy in Yu Darvish who just came off finishing second in the Cy Young race. So why not at least explore the idea of trying to trade him right now? because most likely next year, we talked about this before, but you're going to lose Chris Bryant possibly or Javier Baez. I don't think they bring both back. I would be surprised personally if they signed any of them at the rate that at the rate they're going down with the franchise. I don't think it would make sense. Maybe a Baez because he's that electric, he'll still sell seats, that kind of guy. But I would be surprised if they dished out a $200 million contract at the rate they're dropping. So why not trade a guy like Darvish now, get what you can, and kind of reset the face of the team?
Yep, replenish the farm system. Also, you tend to see teams kind of keep together their core, their whatever core they're going with for 5 to maybe 7 years. They're kind of at that point right now where they have to decide, can they squeeze another championship out of this team, which probably no. So they need to pivot quickly, and especially in this division. There's so many unpredictable teams in this division. I have no clue any year what the Milwaukee Brewers are going to do. Zero idea. They seem to want to go for it one year, or they surprise go for it. They expect to win 75 games, and then they win 90, and usually somewhere around 88 to 92 is enough to win that division. So there's a very fine margin between what constitutes the bottom of that division versus the top.
I also think it's showing, when you look at a team like the Cubs, it shows us how difficult it's become to have a winner on the field, a winner at the MLB level, and still building up a farm system behind you. It is incredibly
nearly impossible.
Because you look at the Yankees are probably the closest thing we've seen to that. And they even had a layoff in that farm system where it dropped off for a few years there. So it feels like it shouldn't be impossible, and obviously it is, but it feels like it should just be you should be able, with the amount of guys you have in a front office, to keep everything in check. But when you're trying to trade for assets and then you have to use your resources financially in different spots, I mean, it is shown that even with a guy the Cubs had like Theo Epstein, it's incredibly difficult to do both. And you're seeing, name one. I don't think there's one team in the MLB you can name that for the last decade has been able to account a top 5 farm system with a top 5 franchise in the field. I just don't think it's there.
Almost the Rays, but not quite.
Yeah, the Rays, but the Rays right now, that their farm system's awesome. Their farm system has been good for the last decade, but I wouldn't say it's top 5 every year. But the Rays put a lot of their financial, whatever they spend financially, is in the farm system, in the analytics. They spend in different ways.
They're not spending it on the stadium. So.
No, they don't have to. Yeah. And I've talked about this at nauseam, but they're basically getting paid to run that team because of the way the financial split is in the MLB.
Right. Who cares if they draw 5,000 people a game? If you're the owner, ticket sales aren't your bread and butter here.
Yeah. And speaking of ticket sales and where teams are playing, we're going to talk about George Springer, who basically today has came out that it is a 2-team race between the Mets and the Blue Jays for George Springer. And I say,
not surprising.
And I say, speaking of stadiums where teams are going to play, because I mean the Blue Jays, I think from what I've seen from the negotiations here on this part, from what I've heard, I think this is Springer trying to latch on. Listen, the Blue Jays have interest in everybody. That's been out there. But I think this is a sign of Springer trying to latch on to a second team to help his market. Now, could it be a situation where he actually considers the Blue Jays, and it's a possibility? Very much so. But I just believe the Mets it's just such a natural fit for both parties, financially and on the field. I think this is him just trying to get one team to help his offer go up. Do that, but I also think this tells you something about where the Blue Jays are headed in the direction.
Yeah, I think they're a couple years away.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this year is kind of just a year where they're the girl at the prom who doesn't know which guy they want to go home with. Maybe they go home with a guy at 8 o'clock, and then at 2 a.m. they go to some other guy's house. That's kind of what the Blue Jays are right now. They're not really committing to. They're not putting a ring on anybody's finger right now, and they're just kind of playing the dance right now. But the main concern that I've heard come out surrounding free agents and Toronto is that, like, the main question they all ask is, are you going to be playing in Toronto next year or next season? And the answer is nobody knows.
Yeah.
The answer is likely no.
Yeah, I've heard different things, but it means something to these players because financially, for tax reasons,
Right.
you're basically half of your contract is taking place in that
In Canada.
in Canada, and otherwise, like I actually saw, I think it was actually we talked about her before. I think it was Rachel Luba, one of her YouTube videos about like how the financials work, and basically you get taxed on where you're playing and not just your home stadium. So let's just say you go play a weekend series in Texas,
Florida. Okay.
Florida,
Texas.
wherever, either one, Texas or Florida. Your paychecks are based by game, so they would fall under that tax credit. So it's all over the place. I would not want to be a professional athlete's whoever's in charge of their numbers, the accountants, whatever. I would not want to be that person because
Nope.
their numbers are all over the place. But it does bring up the point. You're getting the difference of paying 81 games worth of taxes in Toronto or New York. That's a big difference. So it's gonna mean something. And if they don't have an answer right now, I think it makes it harder for them to get some of these guys, especially the bigger free agents with the bigger contracts.
Right. How can you commit?
Yeah.
Even long term, what does that do to the financial stability of the franchise?
Yeah.
In a team, for a team in their situation? Because it could even be, we could even run into a situation this year, it's possible, where there are fans allowed back in, but the Blue Jays aren't allowed to play in Canada. So they might be trying to sell tickets in Buffalo, which smaller stadium, it's not their city.
Mm.
It creates a whole other set of issues that players may not want to deal with.
And let's just say you're a guy like Springer, and let's say you sign this big contract, and you're like, listen, I'll go to Toronto, but knowing the tax, I could lose a ton of money in the year one if you're not in Toronto. Let's just say you're in Buffalo. If you're going to be in Buffalo, you got to let me know, and let's backload this contract. Let's not make me lose as money in year one and put it in year 5, year 4. But it makes negotiations so much tougher because the Mets can literally say, "Oh, we're going to be, where we're going to be. You're going to be paying this much. This is how it's going to be, and we can pay you this much every year." So,
one of the key things that any free agent wants, sells, aka Trevor Bauer, but most want stability.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is knowing where you are, knowing what your financial situation is, knowing where your family is going to be at. All of that comes into play when trying to make a decision of that magnitude, and especially for a guy like George Springer, who's probably looking at a 5-6 year contract worth. We did the negotiations. If you go back previous episodes with the Connecticut Cowboy.
Ugh.
But he's probably looking at a 5-6 year deal, 150 to 200 million type range potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, maybe if I'm a guy who's signing a shorter term deal and want to bet on myself, maybe I definitely wouldn't be considering Toronto if that was the case, but would be wanting backloaded if I was in Toronto. But also, I probably wouldn't go to Toronto.
Well, I think you say stability and it comes to family and location. I also think it's about organizational and knowing that there's certain teams in this league, and I think the Mets now financially are joining that, where they're going to put competitive teams on the field one way or the other for the next decade at the least. And you know that. And that joins teams like the Yankees, like, I would have said the Cubs before, but that's starting to fade out. The Dodgers. The Astros are starting to get into that point. I don't see the Astros tearing it down anytime soon.
The Braves.
The Braves now. The Angels. The Red Sox were to a point. I think they're going to get themselves back in that discussion. But teams like that, where you just know they're going to put competitive guys on the field.
Not the Angels.
Financially, though.
Okay.
Financially, yeah. I mean, that was part of financial, too. Like, financially, they're going to try their best to put it on the field. Would you rather be on the Angels who will spend to put it on the field or the Marlins? You know what I mean? But another team was the Padres. That was the other team I was thinking of. Miami, though, is fun. But speaking of the Yankees, we'll stay with the Yankees. And we've talked about this ad nauseum on this podcast. DJ LeMahieu, the saga continues. Today we heard, again, it could just be posturing for the way they want the contract, but we have heard that the Mets and the Blue Jays have entered the discussions at a pretty heavy rate. And also the Mets part of it, to me, could mean two things. I think part of this is that the LeMahieu camp wants posturing for their contract, and I think this also means the Mets want posturing potentially for the Springer deal, where they could say, listen, we don't need you, we can go get DJ. I think this is helping all parties. The Blue Jays are just there because, as you said before, they're just trying.
They're just there.
But I think this is all posturing personally, and I think we're getting closer and closer to that LeMahieu contract.
I'm like 11.7% nervous right now. Put it on the books.
I would start getting nervous. I mean, like we talked about it separately last week, and it was the fact that Brian Cashman came out and made a comment about it usually means he feels good about it. Like his comments usually dictate where it's going. But I just don't know. The longer this goes, the more I'd be worried if I was a Yankee fan.
Right. And like you said, with the Cashman comments, those usually, he's a guy who's not going to say one thing and then do another thing. If he comes out and says, DJ LeMahieu is our number one priority, which he said, then he's going to be trying whatever he can do to sign DJ LeMahieu. Versus when he talked about Tanaka and Gardner, he was kind of like, well, we're going to see how the negotiations play out and it'll be what it'll be.
But the problem is, if you're Cashman and if LeMahieu does have teams bidding and the number goes higher and higher and higher, at some point, the Yankees still need a starter, like a good veteran, like fourth, fifth starter, bullpen help. And then one way or another, going to have to either keep LeMahieu, replace LeMahieu, and then possibly replace Brett Gardner.
Right.
Brett
Well, Talkman could be
I guess
essentially Brett Gardner.
Yeah, but still, it's like at some point the money goes higher and higher. You realize you still have to fill your needs. So it gets wild. And I think the number could be getting higher and higher, and that's part of the problem. And if I'm a Yankee fan, if we see in the next couple of days that the Mets don't get Springer, let's just hypothetically say Springer goes to the Blue Jays, my worry about LeMahieu would go dramatically up, because then the Mets are going to say, all right, we need a bat. And the next best bat, or the best bat on the market, I think better than Springer, the best bat on the market is DJ LeMahieu. So let's go jump there.
The concern is the fit with the Mets, I think. But
yeah,
they would figure it out, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we have the versatility, the Mets have the versatility of McNeil being able to play basically anywhere. So he's slated as our second baseman right now. But if you brought a guy like DJ, and you can easily put McNeil at third. Or
it also depends a little bit on the DH rule, I guess. But we'll more to come on that. I believe they haven't made a final decision there, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, they have not. But there's a lot of people fighting for it in both directions. So, but the problem is, and my issue with the whole waiting on the DH rule right now, it's so inconsiderate, because you have teams spending money on their roster and free agents who are trying to find fits, who could be predominantly designated hitters, or their free agency is being directly impacted by this rule. You talk about Nelson Cruz. You talk about Marcelo Zuna potentially playing a little DH. You talk about Edwin Encarnacion. You talk about those guys who their market, if they come out, let me rephrase that. If they don't know what the DH is going to be in the NL, that makes Nelson Cruz and Edwin Encarnacion only American League players. But if they say, all right, we think it's going to be, we're going to let the NL have the DH again, now there's 32 teams that they can negotiate with. And teams right now don't know what to do. Am I going to have to carry an extra bat to fill this DH? Am I allowed to use that extra bat for this DH rule?
That's why a guy like Schwarber's kind of in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
Also, could indirectly affect teams like the Red Sox might at some point want to offload JD Martinez because,
Yeah.
well, they would obviously have options in the American League to offload him, but obviously if the National League DH is a thing, that opens up many more trade opportunities. But with DJ LeMahieu specifically, kind of getting back to that, I'm like 11.7% nervous, like I said. And this kind of comes from the Robinson Cano saga that we experienced it was like 10 years ago now, actually.
Yeah, it's like, I think, it was a 10-year deal, and he has a year after, so 8 years ago.
Yep.
8 years ago.
Yeah, so I think in that instance, Yankees wanted him back.
Yeah.
They weren't going to pay what he wanted.
No.
But the difference is there with Cano. There's a much wider market, I think, because he was younger, obviously. Right? Yeah. Was a little bit younger.
Yeah, he had to have been, because he's what, 30? Maybe not.
He's little bit younger.
It's like, I think, Cano, I think was 29. I think he's 30.
He was, no offense to DJ LeMahieu, but Cano had been consistently like the best second baseman in baseball for the past, or not the best, top 2 or 3 second basemen in baseball the previous like 5 years. There wasn't a question.
I think part of the issue too is that the Yankees look ahead and you think we're going to have to pay Judge very soon, and we're going to pay Judge that.
That's going to be a fascinating negotiation in my mind, because he's already 27, 28. He'll be 28.
Yeah, somewhere around that.
And obviously his injury history.
Yeah. But
so I think that declines his market a little bit.
I think even with the injury history and whatever, I think the Yankees will pay him whatever he wants. I think despite injuries, and I think he still has earned that right with the guy.
The marketability too. He's just like the prototypical Yankee who's going to be on billboards. He sells jerseys. That is a whole additional value that the Yankees place on players as well, where they want, like, I'm not saying he's Jeter-like, but in the same sense where he's that guy that kids kind of look up to, that he's like, just comes in every day, that he's healthy and does his job. Not that DJ LeMahieu doesn't do any of this, but he's the homegrown kid.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge. It's different.
Staying on the Yankees, we touched on it before about the Yankees needing that veteran starter to potentially replace Tanaka, who Tanaka's been rumored all over now. And like you said, Cashman made that comment, basically not saying Tanaka's gone, but it doesn't look good. So we talk about Yankees needing a veteran starter. I mean, I don't even know who was in that ballpark.
Tanaka.
Yeah.
Which is interesting why Cashman would come out and say, well, we'll see where the negotiations go. I guess he wants a little more leverage there. Yeah. Obviously, he wants leverage in every situation, but he knows probably that someone is likely going to throw a number at Tanaka that he's not going to want to pay.
I don't think it's if it's a short, like, 1 year deal, I don't think Cashman has a problem paying up in dollars for 1 year. I just think there's going to be multi-year offers out there for Tanaka. I think that is where the issue starts to arise. If it goes 2-3 years, I don't think Cashman wants to go that long for Tanaka.
Yeah, Cashman wants the flexibility with the young pitchers that he has. He's said he wants a veteran, but he said that in that same...
Yeah.
Or no, it was actually a different article where they kind of said they were apart on significantly apart on DJ LeMahieu. And then he kind of said, well, we also need a veteran starter. And but in that, he also said it could be a mid-season type of thing. So maybe they ride it out with the kids. That leads me to believe Tanaka's probably not back. You re-sign DJ, and then if things are not going your way, pitching-wise, mid-season, you give up some of your prospect arms here and make a deal for a number 2, number 3 starter. But I guess Tanaka's out of the mix here. If I was a betting man, I would say he's probably not coming back. I would say they go cheaper here, maybe I don't even know, Jake Odorizzi type, something like that.
That's the problem that I was going to say is if you wanted to go that veteran route, and if you're saying Tanaka is going to be too expensive, I personally think you're closing out obviously Trevor Bauer, and you're closing out Jake Odorizzi. I
do not expect the Yankees to sign Trevor Bauer. It's not even like a thought that runs in my head.
So any of those top 3 guys, I think you're closing out if you're saying Tanaka's gone. So other guys that would have been great fits, let's look at the ones that have already signed. Strong qualifying offer. Waka, which we'll talk about in a second. Mike Minor, Charlie Morton.
Lance Lynn trade.
Lance Lynn, who was the one that went back? Robbie Ray. So, and then the Giants brought back Kevin Gausman. I mean, Robbie Ray would be that veteran guy you're giving a shot to.
Probably too high of a price.
Yeah, maybe. But those guys already gone. So it starts decreasing that market. Of course, there's guys on the market like a Jake Arrieta, Cole Hamels. Those type of guys could still be a potential if that's the direction you want to go, though. If you really
we're building a team for 2011, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're trying to get guys that eat innings, you know they'll eat innings. You know Cole Hamels can go out there and eat innings. He stays healthy and he can just eat innings up, have that 4.45 ERA, and just live perfect for a 4 or 5 starter. Personally, but I think that's the allure of Tanaka is he's going to eat innings. You know he's going to be that guy that's consistent enough when you need him.
He stays healthy.
And that's what's going to get him paid is the best ability is dependability. And is that the phrase? Best ability is dependability? No. The best ability is availability. There you go. Not dependability, availability.
Same thing.
Same kind of concept. And we just did touch on it, so let's jump in here. We talked about a couple times throughout the offseason about who was going to replace the Tampa Bay Rays' Charlie Morton. And I think as much as – so the guy is Michael Wacha, signs with the Tampa Bay Rays. And as much as I would love that to be the case where he does replace Morton, I watched him pitch for the Mets last year. Yes, he eats innings. Good. He's not good. I mean, he eats innings. That's he can be out there when he's healthy. He can eat innings for you. He'll take it on the chin. He'll take whatever he has to do and just go out there and finish games for you. Like he's good enough in that regard. Now, we've seen guys not good go to Tampa and turn into something because of the way they run that franchise. So if they can get the best out of him with the stuff he does have some great stuff. Not a bad risk for them because I think it was a small 1-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, he's especially the past few years, he's kind of fallen off. ERA last year was almost 7. Year before that was 5. He's consistently mediocre at best. His strikeout to walk ratio, last year was actually way up. It was over 5, almost 10 strikeouts per 9. And how the Rays obviously use their starters, unless your name is, well, even still, but let's say unless your name is Blake Snell or Tyler Glasnow, is the whole opener situation. So maybe they view Wacha as a guy that is best in short spurts. They might have had some analysis that say, in the 3rd to 5th inning when the score is 2-3 and he throws a certain amount of curveballs and they're playing the Waterloo Iowans, you know how they go. So they'll maximize his strengths. I would expect to see maybe not a good season, but
yeah,
he's an arm that is capable probably of being molded into what the Rays want him to do.
I do know that he throws a very nice curveball, and his curveball is so good that teams will pay just for that and try to work his system around that one pitch. The Mets I thought he had some good moments for the Mets last year, especially when we started to heat up a little bit and give ourselves a shot at the end. He got really hot with us, so I think it's a good risk for the Rays, and that's one of the signings that happened, this past few days. And sorry,
And if I don't know much about his pitch selection, but if he does throw a good curveball, and we know kind of what the Rays bullpen arms are about, pretty much the stable throwing heat, that's what they do. So they kind of like to mix and match, not only with, like lefty righty, but it's also about where the arm delivery is, where the release point is, what pitches they're throwing. So if Waka has some delivery that's different from a pitcher they would sequence in before or after him, and it goes from curveball to, if you're going from Nick Anderson to Michael Waka, those are the kind of situations that the Rays dweebs are looking into and trying to maximize here. So any signing the Rays make, I never say that's a crap signing, because they could sign, I don't even know who, like some guy with an 8 ERA, and I would be like, they'll figure out how to use him.
That's the one thing. Well, like, I firmly believe, I said it in one of my hot takes, was that I feel that they're going to take a step back this year because more of the strength of division getting better. But you look at that bullpen, and they have just horses in that pen that can throw 100 miles an hour easily. They have five or six of them that can just gun that fastball all day. So that definitely plays a role in success. Couple other signings happened. One of them I saw, but I guess I forgot. It was Chicago White Sox not re-signed. They brought back Adam Eaton after his couple of years winning a World Series with the Washington Nationals. He goes to join the Chicago White Sox on a 1 or 2 year deal, small deal. I think it's a nice signing for the White Sox. They needed an outfielder to replace it in the, one of the corners. They needed to get some more veteran stability there. They definitely needed a veteran in that clubhouse, and not a bad little signing. Not much on that, but
yeah, I mean, he's kind of, I feel like he's kind of in the same breath as like a Jackie Bradley, where he's just kind of like, he's reliable. He's old reliable, like he's going to get the job done. He's not going to be the best player on your team. He's not going to be the 5th best player on your team, but he's just going to get the job done. But staying on the White Sox, I have a small tangent here.
I know where you're going to go.
You know exactly where I'm going.
I saw the article before, and
Tony La Russa, saying he does not. He said he does not have a drinking problem.
Okay,
you are 70,000 years old, and you got caught in a DUI situation and said, "I'm a Hall of Fame person." Breaking news, Tony La Russa, you have a drinking problem.
So I thought you were going somewhere else with the with the La Russa thing. Did you hear what his punishment was today?
No, I didn't. Oh, boy.
All right. So White Sox manager Tony La Russa has not punishment with the league, but punishment with
self-imposed.
No. Like
LSU banning in college football, banning themselves from bowl season this year, even though they're 3-5. Like
with the court, punishment, legally.
Oh.
So he will pay a fine, serve 20 hours of community service.
20 hours. Come on, kids.
Now he is going to be under house arrest. I want you to guess how long that house arrest will be.
2 weeks.
1 day. 24 hours of home confinement.
That's what we're doing anyway. Everyone is on home.
24 hours of home confinement. And
everyone is pretty much on home confinement right now. That's not hard to do. I could easily do that.
And a $1,300.
I haven't left my house in more than 24 hours, probably.
$1,300 fine.
That's nothing.
3rd DUI offense. And he has $1,300 fine. 1 day at home. That's it. Just stay at home for 1 day. Who knows? His
Does he have to wear an ankle bracelet for 1 day?
I would hope so, just to give him a,
What do you-
I mean,
It's ridiculous.
they must know that his wife just sucks if they need to keep him there for one day. Like he must never want to be home. No, you got to be home for a full day.
No.
That's where I really thought you were going with LaRussa. I didn't even have LaRussa on here because I didn't. It came out and I saw it, and then I was like, whatever. But
You knew that wasn't a subject you wanted to get into.
yeah, no. But I knew when you started, I thought that's where you were going with it. But
Nope.
Tony LaRussa is a pod favorite here. Another thing,
Miguel Cairo, hot take. I've said it before. Miguel Cairo will be a manager by August.
you love Miguel Cairo.
Okay.
One of the things, recording this on a Monday, yesterday came out was the Mets, Stevie Cohen, talking about, he gave a little poll to the fans. He wanted to know what fans liked. Is it the black uniform? And it's the Carvel uniform.
I'm a bit uneducated here.
So
Explain to me what the Carvel uniform is.
now listen, I am a Mets fan. Okay.
Oh, you don't know either.
I'm going to be honest. As soon as I saw it, I knew what it was. But
Okay.
by saying Carvel, that didn't, ring a bell to me at all. But basically, their Carvel uniforms are just a solid white. They're no pinstripe. It's just a solid white that says Mets. It has a simple blue pinstripe in the middle. But fans did like it. It was just solid. They enjoyed
Yeah,
it. But
no.
if any fan says Carvel over the black uniform, you're lost, because the black uniforms are the best uniforms the Mets have had. I mean, outside the 86 ones, the 86 uniforms, the pinstripes, where they didn't have button down, it was just like a shirt. They were pretty cool, the blue and the grays. But the black uniforms of the early 2000s, you think of Subway Series, you think of Mike Piazza. Those are
Jose, you think of Cliff Floyd,
I mean, Robin Ventura.
Carlos Delgado.
Like, yes, though, Carlos Beltran, like those are the Beltran briefly, but those are the uniforms. And if they bring them back, I guarantee you they will sell so many of those black uniforms. I mean, so many, because people have wanted it. And the only way to get it for the last 5-10 years was to get it
Used market, yeah.
Yeah. Or even you can get it from like any other country. Like they have those websites that are
The
cheaper.
fake jersey, yeah.
You can get that and they look great, but that was the only way to get black uniforms. And I think he's just doing this to kind of stir up like the talk, but they know they're bringing black back. That was like one of the first, when he opened his Twitter up originally and let fans ask questions. That was one of the first questions.
That's been a big thing on
Yeah.
Mets Twitter that they've been demanding. I like the idea, obviously, of any other team having multiple uniforms.
Yeah.
Yankees cannot. You cannot do it. It's. I know there've been talks about having, even that one year where it was those like nickname jerseys,
Oh yeah.
and they had them like Yankees wore like the black jerseys. It was just it was icky. It didn't make me feel right.
My thing is, as a standard, a team should have your homes, your roads, and your one extra, just to be like the Mets would be with blacks. Like the
Like
one
a
extra,
statement jersey, like the NBA.
yeah. But I think the problem is, and I was going to say this, I think it shouldn't be like the NBA, because the NBA, some teams have way too many.
Yeah,
Some
you
teams
can't have 8 uniforms.
Yeah, and like the Nets this year, they're gonna have black, white. They're gonna do the Brooklyn ones, the a couple different Brooklyn, like not Brooklyn, obviously the Brooklyn Nets, but a couple different like based off Brooklyn kind of jersey. They're all, I mean, they're gonna have like 9 jerseys. So
The Hawks have like 8 jerseys.
I think the only team that really doesn't have that. Well, no, the Lakers even have like 4 or 5. Like it's just so many jerseys in the NBA, and I don't like that. I don't like
Yeah,
it.
there are certain brands that it's just their brand for good or bad.
Like if
They don't have multiple. You can't mess with it.
you look at football, like you have 2 jerseys. That's really what you have. You can change the combo of a
People
color.
don't like that though. Well,
I
the
know-
Jets have more than 2 jerseys:
Well,
white, black, green.
Oh, black, green, whites. They have 3. The one jersey that, and this isn't a football podcast, but the Jets jersey that I missed the most was the blue Titan jersey.
Oh yeah,
The
people
Titan-
hate that. But
We only wore that really. I think it was like the 2009, 2010, like the best years. I think the only year.
yeah,
we wore.
pretty much.
I love that jersey so much. I still have a Mark Sanchez blue Titan jersey. I
Wow,
love.
let's not go down the route of the most ridiculous Jets jerseys we have because I have a Geno Smith,
I have a Tim
I have a
Tebow.
Greg McElroy,
Oh my god.
I have obviously the Jamal Adams white in the new version of the jersey. So we're not going there though. This is a
Yeah.
football or baseball podcast.
I have Dustin Keller and Sean Green. Not a big deal.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. So staying with baseball, yes, I think the black uniforms are a winner. I think he might end up bringing back both at some capacity, but
Are you a big uniform guy? Do you buy uniforms?
yeah, I'm a pretty big uniform guy. I have a ton.
I, for the first time last year or 2 years ago, I have never bought a Yankees jersey. I usually have maybe a jersey, a sweatshirt, a zip up. I was very not a jersey guy just because I don't know, it's just not always my thing.
Yeah.
I splurged and I got and it's okay. I'll still wear it. I have a Yankees pinstripe number 18, no name on the back. Announcement in terms of names on the back for Yankees jerseys. If you own a Yankees jersey and it has a name on the back, throw it out.
It's fake.
It is fake.
Fraud.
It does not count.
It is fraud.
Yankees jerseys do not have names on the back. That's part of the thing. So I have a DJ, or not DJ. God, I have a DD
Yeah,
number 18
maybe someone will wear 18 one.
pinstripe jersey. Yeah, I mean, and I always or DD will always have a special place in my heart.
One day,
So-
maybe on the Daily Sports Network YouTube page, we're trying to promote here. I'll do like a jersey viewing because I have 65 jerseys in total.
Oh God,
They're based. They basically are led by football. Football is the one sport where I'll get jerseys from all different teams. I think I have like 45 football jerseys. I have like 5 or 6 baseball jerseys. It's only Mets. I have a couple other teams there, and then hockey and basketball is sorted through. I have some basketball jerseys too.
the one jersey I've looked for across the probably past 2 or 3 years. If anyone has it's a very specific jersey, and it could be home or road actually, so not as specific. A Yankees Alfonso Soriano jersey from 2003 with the 100-year anniversary patch on it. It's
My-
size medium. If anyone who's a listener of this has any connections to where I can find that jersey, please let me know.
My question is for you: if that were to come up like right now, like someone said, "I have it, I'm willing to sell it," right?
What's
What-
my price?
Yeah, about to say, what is the most you'll pay for that jersey?
$150.
Okay, that's not that crazy. That's
Yeah.
that's probably what you'll end up paying. That's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
That would be my everyday jersey. What you could do, honestly, but I'm not going to do it. I could get you could go on the site, make a custom jersey, and just have a number 12.
No,
but-
but not even that. You could just get a number 12 jersey, find the patch, the 100-year patch, and go to a place and have them patch it for you.
But it's not real.
No, it's not. But I guess that's
2003 was like my favorite Yankees team of all time. We can get into that another day.
you're
But-
talking to the wrong guy though, because I literally predominantly hand it. Maybe it's illegal. I don't know. I get my jerseys from China predominantly. And
Oh, I know.
I have so many jerseys that are from China and so many that aren't, and most people can't tell the difference. If you
Well,
get
now you're busted because you said it on air.
yeah, I said it on there. No, I don't get it. I was kidding. I get it from the U.S.
Stricken from the record.
Stricken from the record. Yeah, I don't have any jerseys actually. I'm not a jersey. Zero jerseys. I don't.
Zero jerseys.
And that was Jersey Talk with Todd and Nick.
Wow, that got exciting.
One more thing before we get into history. As the last few episodes, we finally hit that sweet spot of like an hour per episode, not too much over. It's kind of good. Before we get into the history, let's just jump on this quick. I don't know if you have anything to talk about, but the Sunday Night Baseball schedule was released. Anything stuck out to you?
Yankees do not play on Sunday Night Baseball until I believe July 4th, which is against the Mets.
Oh, cool.
But then they have a run of basically 3 straight Sunday Night Baseballs that it's either Yankees, Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, or it's either Yankees versus Mets, or Yankees versus Red Sox.
So they only
The
release.
full schedule has not come out yet.
Yeah, it's only through Memorial Day, but they have.
It's through the All-Star break, I think.
I have it through July 18th.
The All-Star break.
But that is also Memorial Day.
Memorial Day is May 25th or something like that.
What
are you talking about?
Memorial Day.
What are you saying?
We'll get back to this. But the other game that they added outside of the July game is September 12th, Yankees-Mets. That's Sunday night game. But everything else is just...
I'm surprised they don't have even like a special broadcast of the game on September 11th.
Saturday?
I'm hoping that by then we can all be in stadiums. I would love nothing more than to be at that game on September 11th.
Memorial Day is Monday, May 31st. But I'm not going to take full blame for not knowing Memorial Day because...
Come on.
When I read this article... No, I know what Memorial Day is, but I read the article and it says, this is Amy Kaplan for Fansided. You're not a fan of the podcast, Amy, because you misled me. It says ESPN Sunday Night Baseball schedule through Memorial Day announced. That's the article. You can see it. I probably can't see it. But the article says that, and then it gives me the last date is July 18th. So she's a crock of shit. Jesus, that was really angry. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Amy, that wasn't on that.
Amy, we're sorry.
But to your point quickly about the September 11th game, most likely if it's a Saturday, I would guess that Fox Sports probably bought that game. Probably have
it'll be on national TV.
Yeah, Fox Sports probably bought it out. And hopefully, like you said, we'll have some sort of crowd by then. And you touched on it with the schedule. It's mostly Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Yankees, Braves, Mets.
Braves have a lot.
Cubs, Cardinals, Padres. Some good ones, though. Mets a couple. What's the first one? Oh, the White Sox and Angels open. I don't know. Gosh, but you know how ESPN works. That first week of baseball, they basically have every game on their network. So
right, yeah, they have a big opening day.
It doesn't really matter what the Sunday night game is. Well, that Sunday night for them is usually that starts the season, right? They have it. Didn't the last couple of years, not last year, obviously because of COVID, but they've done that thing where they start the season on Sunday Night Baseball. Monday they don't have anything, and then it opens on Tuesday.
I thought it usually starts on like a random Thursday or something, but
I don't know. I guess we will see. We don't have the full schedules yet, so I guess we'll see what happens there. So that's schedule talk. We did the uniform. So Todd, you got any history for us today?
One thing, where is it? 19. I have a couple things, mostly Yankees related, and that's just a coincidence. Just how this week played out in history. 1959, Pirates reject the A's offer for Roger Maris.
Wow.
A's wanted to trade Roger Maris to the Pirates for, right? Yeah, wasn't he on the A's?
Yeah, Maris.
I believe.
Yeah.
For shortstop Dick Groat.
Wait, but I'm sorry.
We can go into names another episode.
Let's just say next week we're going to talk about the 1900, the Cleveland Spiders. Were the Spiders?
Yeah.
Cleveland Spiders.
We should pick like 2 or 3 pre-1800 teams per week and just run down their names.
Their team name, the players on these teams, their names are something.
The Tebow brothers, Patsy and Pussy Tebow. That's
all right. Go back to Roger Maris.
Cowboy Jones. I remember these. They were great.
Now I want to go down that road because there was so good ones.
We'll save it. We'll build up the anticipation for that episode because that'll be a great one. But Roger Maris, they didn't accept the deal. Maris later, of course, goes to the Yankees, obviously famed for his home run chase where him and Mickey Mantle in 1961 were in that great home run duel, both playing for the Yankees, both trying to see who would overtake Babe Ruth's home run record. Maris got to 61. Maris also won 2 MVPs, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. When you look at his numbers, he's not really a Hall of Famer. He had 5 or 6 good years where, yeah, 2 of them were probably MVP worthy,
Mhm.
but a 5 or 6 year peak when none of the other years were even like remotely decent, it doesn't translate to Hall of Fame. But then you have to consider he did win 2 MVPs. How many 2-time MVP winners are not in the Hall of Fame? I don't know.
Hamilton?
Probably not too many. What?
Maybe Josh Hamilton?
Did he win 2 MVPs?
At least won one.
He won 1. I don't know if he won 2 MVPs. I don't know.
It's kind of the same basis. Had a couple good years, and then flooded up into the heaven. He's not in heaven. That's not right. He's not dead. Very much alive.
Josh Hamilton is not dead.
He's very much. Todd, keep going. Very much
Roger Maris is dead, unfortunately, but
alive. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
But not Josh Hamilton. He's alive.
Josh Hamilton is not dead. He's alive.
I mean, we don't know. No, we
Well,
know. We know. We would know. Yeah, we know.
Josh Hamilton's done some pretty crappy stuff
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day.
I'm sorry, Josh. If you're listening, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I'm sorry, but because I'm sorry about saying or insinuating that he's dead. Obviously, we're sorry.
His family could be listening. Like, wow, my
Right.
dad-
We're sorry about that. But
Yeah.
all the other stuff, that's a completely different topic that we're not even going to get into. But
No.
Roger Maris, there's also been, obviously, with the Hall of Fame vote being now and people questioning if any of the candidates on the ballot in terms of the modern era ballot being worthy of Hall of Fame induction. There's also the additional deliberations surrounding guys who are from previous eras who haven't gotten in yet, who are past their 15 or whatever, right? It's 15 years
Something.
you have or something that you can be on the ballot.
Yeah.
And then once you're off that, to get back on like the veterans ballot or whatever, you have to be like voted through this committee, this first set of committees. So Roger Maris could end up in that way, but I would say it's unlikely. Other things on here, I think I saw.
I have one.
Go for it, yeah. History with Mickey.
7 years ago today, Shin Soo Choo signed his 7-year deal with
Wow.
Texas Rangers, 7 years, 130, which is
Wow.
now a free agent. 7 years, 130, which doesn't seem that crazy now.
Talk about a deal that did not pay off.
Well, I mean, to think now, that was less than $20 million per year. When you think now, that's not that bad. And if you look at his stats, I'm going to pull it up as we're talking here. I mean, he made it through 7 years of the contract without any issues. Last year was not great, but besides that, you look at some of the years. I mean, some of his years, he had 2282, 2278. He hit 20 home runs 4 of those years. No, 4 of those years. Yeah. And I guess I wouldn't say it didn't pay off, but I also said I wouldn't say it did pay off.
I think he's the all-time leader. I think I saw this on Instagram in home runs from anyone born in South Korea.
That makes sense. I mean, I feel
And
like
it's not a high number. It's like 150 or something.
home runs are
Right.
I might as well say 218
Oh, okay, I was wrong, but it's still
200.
not that high.
Is Shohei Ohtani from North Korea?
No, he's Japanese, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's a nice stat for Shin Soo Choo, but how many players are from South Korea?
Not too many.
So I guess yes, it's a good stat, but
There
What-
isn't much competition there.
what is he really up against? Is a good question, I guess.
Right. I guess we'd have to dive into major leaguers from South Korea.
Off the top of the head, the only people I see, like when you search it and you can see the top most search, the only
Isn't that guy the guy who was the second baseman on the Pirates for a little bit?
My mic broke. I'm back.
He's back.
It was a friend of the podcast, He-Man Choi.
Oh,
Yeah, so he
He's
could be
up there?
competing one day.
well,
no.
he could-
I'm just saying he's a player from that
He could get up there, yeah.
By
That's
the
the
way,
main competition
for that
in
little
the
moment,
South Korean home run race.
whoever was listening to me go dead, I knew my mic was going to die at some point. I thought it was going to be sooner than that. So we made it through almost the whole podcast. So that worked pretty well. That's it. I think that was actually I actually enjoyed that. It felt like we actually had like specific topics to get into.
I like
Yeah,
that.
like-
It was very PTI style.
There was PTI, Michael Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser.
Tony
Um,
Kornheiser, Binghamton alum.
Tony Kornheiser?
Went to Binghamton.
I think you said Jim at first. I was like,
No,
Jim. We are again sorry to Josh Hamilton and his family.
apologies.
Apologies. I feel like between all the podcasts we've done with football and baseball, I feel like I have incorrectly killed like 3 people already, and I've had to apologize.
Pretty much, yes.
It's not a good thing to be doing, but I guess as long as you apologize and you put your hand up and admit you're wrong.
That's all we got to do.
That is the On the Bump podcast, episode 10. Keeping an eye on the YouTube page. We'll drop some more stuff. Keep an eye on the social medias. We'll be all over that with stuff. And watching this video. Adios.
Thank you.
If you're listening, thank you for listening as always on a Wednesday. And have a Merry Christmas. Have a happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah?
Hanukkah's over, but
Hanukkah's over, but I hope you had a happy Hanukkah.
have a Merry Christmas.
Have a Merry Christmas. This will be coming out the day before Christmas Eve on a Wednesday. So
Christmas
have a
Eve.
Merry Christmas. And yeah.
We'll try and put out an episode next week too, kind of New Year's, maybe some New Year's resolution type thing for baseball.
And we're definitely going to talk about the Spiders of Cleveland from the 1900s, because that seems like that has to be talked about. And so we will see you next week. And thank you guys.
Thank you.
Amen.
What a shout.
What a